Welcome back to College Football Addiction. Long time no talk. Jeremy from Cardinal Sports Zone. Dude, what's going on, man?
What's going on, buddy? How you been?
Dude, I've been better, but hopefully my team can rebound after last week. But the team that's got me in a bad mood hopefully doesn't put you in a bad mood this weekend.
What was that? Like, that was the game I was least worried about last week.
Just think it's a road Friday. This is what I was most worried about, a road Friday night in conference. And they didn't tackle especially well. Virginia ran the ball very well, not to take anything away from them, but too many mistakes. You miss a field goal. You have turnovers inside the red zone. You give them short fields. They had turnovers too, but a lot of theirs were down the 20, 30 yards down the field. And so it's just not quite the same. We had a turnover inside the 5. They had a turnover. We had another turnover on their side of the field. We gave them a short field. You clean some of that stuff up. And honestly, if you just tackle a little bit better too, that would be a super big help. But look to rebound this week against Miami. Louisville looks to knock off that Virginia team. Before we talk about that, though, tell me just big picture, what has impressed you the most about Louisville so far this year?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say the ability to still be able to throw a passable ball behind an offensive line that is, we had a couple injuries coming into the season there, so this line hasn't been together that long. It's not given Miller Moss a lot of time to throw the ball. They're still a good line, but as we all know, lines gel throughout the season. So the more reps they get, the better they'll be end up being. So that's impressed me. And then I'll say this, because this popped into my head right after you asked me the question: the defensive prowess, if you will, because been able to attack any kind of offense. I saw a stat the other day about we've only allowed maybe one rushing maybe it's 0. I should have done that. I didn't realize I was going to talk about that. Should have not allowed many rushing touchdowns this year, if any. I'll look that up here in a second. But yeah, it's we've made people throw the ball on, and I know that's not going to work this week, right? Virginia is if you want to go towards their positives, you'll say, well, they may not be able to defend the pass very well, but they can run the ball really well. And they've got, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, I believe they've got, you've got Jamari Taylor, who's their leading rusher with 400 yards. And it's like, well, 400 yards, that's not a lot. Oh, well, their second leading rusher's got 229. Their third leading rusher's got 206. And the rest of the room's got 385 yards. So they are a rush-heavy team. I feel, even though I say that, because that's what I was focusing on my report yesterday at cardinalsportszone.com. Once to watch, I was like, I'm going to put everybody's stats down. I started doing the rushing stuff. I was like, oh, man, well, they're a rush-heavy team. Well, they've also thrown for 1,500 yards through the air in 5 games, too. So that's, that's crazy. That shows that you don't – and probably the reason why you have problems with a team like that is because you're not really sure what to focus on. So, yeah, I mean, they've got a total of 11, 12, 34, like 17 rushing touchdowns in this young season. So it's going to be key for us to be able to continue to defend the pass the way we have and lock in on the rushing game.
Yeah, man, they just they don't do anything like that's incredible, but they just do every little thing well, offensively. Now, defensively, they are not great. Florida State's got a good offense. They've got the number 1 scoring and yards per game offense in the country. So not to discredit them too much, but Florida State was able to get off on them. Even that, the drive that they had a turnover inside the red zone. They missed a field goal and a turnover inside the 5-yard line. Those were drives that Florida State moved the ball very effectively as well. And so, but offensively, Virginia is really good, and they're very balanced. Like you said, 1,500 yards passing. They've got a lot on the ground that they've done. They went for over 220 on FSU. And Morris is a really good runner too. Just when you think you might have a chance to get them off the field on a 3rd and long, he takes off and is very athletic. Florida State really struggled with the mesh concepts, just the little crossers 5 and 6 yards down the field. They didn't get anything deep on us. There were a couple of kind of short passes that didn't go very far in the air, but then they turn those into big gains. but they weren't very effective throwing the ball deep. In fact, when Morris threw the ball deep, he had like 2 or 3 picks. Was not very good there. But man, they will nickel and dime you to death. They had like an 8.5 minute drive where they ran the ball 11 times. They had a drive where they kept the ball for like 7 minutes there in the second half. They're very content to take 3 or 4 yards a play and just nickel and dime you to death down the field, put themselves in 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, and be really good with that. And I mean, if I'm any team, not just Louisville, if I'm any team that's got to take that on, I mean, that is a concern because Florida State seemed to play back. They didn't adjust. I think they thought their athletes could just win, and unfortunately, they weren't able to for them. But they never adjusted to like bring more guys down. And I think that was a misplay on the coaching staff by Florida State. But now that's been put on tape, and I wonder if Louisville will capitalize on it. But to me, I think the strategy should be like, you got to take away their running game. You got to take away what they want to do up front. And those shallow crossers, if they beat you deeper time or two, if Morris is able to be accurate enough, which he wasn't on Saturday, if they beat you deep a time or two, then they're going to beat you deep a time or two. But what they want to do is take that short game and just take what the defense will give them. And so if that's their tendency, if that's what they want to do, that's where I think Louisville has to say, no, we're not going to let you do that, right? If you beat us deep a couple of times because we're playing up, so be it. Obviously, nobody wants that. He wasn't terribly accurate one way or the other when he was doing that. But that's that, you know, I don't want to say that's my concern for Louisville, but that's my concern for anybody that plays them is you got to adjust to what they're doing underneath because they'll be fine running the ball for 3 or 4 yards a rush and taking their 5-6 yard crossing routes.
And they're deceptively efficient too because 539 yards per game total offense.
I'll get right back to the video, but first I do want to give some love to our friends over at Sleeper. You should be making money with us on the Sleeper app this college football season. There's a ton of things you can do on there, from eliminator leagues to pick'ems in the NFL to just checking the scores of the game. It's the best interface that I've seen for just keeping updated with what's going on in the world of sports and certainly in the world of college football. What you, though, need to be doing is playing the more or less game with us every single Wednesday on the Power 2, where we give you our picks, more or less on 2 or more players. You can win up to 1,000 times your money. Check Sleeper's terms of use because terms and conditions do apply, and use our code CFA for a 100% match up to $100. We appreciate Sleeper for their support. Download their app right now.
And we talk about Morris. I've watched him several times this year. I came out without looking at the numbers, and I do that a lot because I want to be pleasantly surprised or okay, you were really, really wrong. I was like, this guy's probably like a 57, 60% passer, doesn't look very efficient. He's 111 for 155 for 70, almost 72%. He has accounted for 4 of the team's total 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, about 1,300 yards passing, 10 touchdowns. The offense, again, They take care of the ball pretty well. I mean, that's less than 1 turnover per game. They fumble the ball a lot, but kudos to them. They've recovered all 5 balls that they have fumbled themselves. So when you go up against a team that screams fundamentals, and that's something that has been a glaring weakness this season for us, is the amount of penalty yards off of stupid crap you see excuse the stupid penalties, if you will. I'm glad that's the direction I went instead of the other. If we can get ourselves disciplined, and again, Miller Moss has been on campus for like 6 months, so he's still a lot of people. So let me peel the let's open the curtain a little bit. The entire game on Saturday, and that's just how fanatic. And I know every fan base is like that, but every player was either the best player ever or fire everybody in the room, right? And Miller Moss had been traded off to about 18 different schools by half. And then you start listening to the commentators because he starts to heat up. He starts to learn. And the commentators are like, this guy's going to be excellent in the system once he learns it. And it's like, oh, yeah, he's only been here 6 months. He may not have it all the way down pat. He may be a learning progress. And by the end of the game, you still had your few stubborn heads that were like, oh, so what? He threw for 340 yards and 4 touchdowns. He'll just start off slow again next game, and we have done that. That's our second glaring weakness. Penalties, number 1. Second, it's almost like that old lawnmower that's been sitting in the backyard, and it takes you forever to get started, and you pull the chain, and finally it comes on. As you can see on Saturday versus Pittsburgh, that has been us in a nutshell for the entire season. It has taken us a while to get going. It took us a while to get going against JMU. It took us a while to get going against Bowling Green. Not as long as JMU, which I still think is a fantastic football team. And I know people are going to be like, "Oh, yeah, you think that because you got to win against them, and they're probably only going to lose that one game all year." Well, yes, because it's a resume builder. So absolutely, I'm going to think that. But I also think I saw enough on the field to show me that if you took the JMU off of that and you put a GT on the side or a Auburn or something along those lines, you'd be like, oh yeah, okay, I can see that that's that team because they're a pretty tough football team. Their fans not that smart for the most part that I encounter, but their football team really great. And Pittsburgh fans, listen, I'm a Steelers fan, right? So I already knew that when you went into Acrisure, you were gonna if you were a Louisville fan, you were gonna leave there hating the Pittsburgh fans because they're direct, they're blunt. There's one point, even the players have adopted that kind of motto or mantra because as you saw, the one offensive lineman, and we were down at that point, he gets hurt for Pittsburgh. They're carting him off the field, and our team's like praying and clapping for him. He looks over at us and is like, "F you guys, you effing suck. You effing suck. There's no way you all belong on the field with us." And then we took him to the woodshed, and hopefully we built that guy a pretty comfortable bed somewhere that he could lay down and he could see how much we sucked. And then their fans were like, I've never seen a university celebrate a team where the other team just imploded. Well, did you implode or did we force the implosion? So
yeah,
I'll get off that part. But this team right here, so Virginia was not a team any of us were looking for. I know you weren't, I wasn't, to be a challenge. It pretty much looks like this is going to be a battle for a top 25 ranking because in both polls, Louisville's just right outside the top 25 at 26 and 29. Virginia somehow slid in. Explain this to me. How does Florida State fall 152 spots? It wasn't that many, but Virginia sneaks in, and they don't even have it. They beat William and Mary, Coastal Carolina, and dropped one to NC State. How do you jump in the top 25 unless it's the whole SEC rules? All right, well, we're going to put them in there so Virginia versus Louisville can be top 25 game, and then the winner of that game will be in the top 25, and you're just building the conference prestige that way. I don't know. I felt it was unfair to drop Florida State so far. It wasn't like they got defeated by 30.
Right.
It was a fluke win to me. But I still think Virginia is a solid football team. I think they always give us issues anyway. It's one of the teams they are on our schedule every year. They are our cross divisional rivalry or whatever you used to call it. Been on our schedule every year. The one team you look at and you're like, oh, okay, well, that should be a W every year. And it's never that. Even when Lamar was here, he had to throw a last-second touchdown to Jalen Smith in the corner of the end zone for us to beat them with almost no time left on the clock. They're never an easy victory. We are at home. That should help us out a little bit. We play a lot better at home. So we'll see, man. I'm excited for Saturday. I'm not excited that 2 weeks later we had to face Miami. But hopefully, you all play the teams first, and then we kind of get a blueprint. So maybe we'll be able to see what we need to do after you all defeat Miami.
Hopefully we give you a blueprint on that one on what to do to win as opposed to what not to do to lose, right?
Well, either way, look, show us what we need to do to win and show us what we don't need to do so we don't lose.
For my mental health is really what more I care about that one. All right, offensively for Louisville, a Virginia defense that, let's just call it what it is. Again, I know they took on Florida State, who is a better offense this year and again, statistically the best in the country. We'll see how long that keeps up. But it feels like if Louisville can just take care of the ball and not have the mental breakdowns that Florida State had, turnover inside the red zone, missed field goal, turnover at midfield. If they drop pass in the end zone, shoot, there was a ton. Florida State could have scored 60 in this game if they didn't have all this going on. If Louisville can just take care of the ball, they probably won't be like, I don't necessarily expect Louisville to go out and put up 38 or 40 points like Florida State did. But if they can take care of the ball, I think they could be in for a pretty good day offensively.
I mean, we are averaging 38. That's really weird. That's the number you pulled out was 38 because we are averaging 38 points per game. But here with defensively, They've only given up 657 rushing yards on the ground, and if you know anything about Louisville's three-headed rushing attack, that should be easy to get again as long as we take care of the ball. They've given up, I think the actual unit of measurement is butt load through the air. Almost, 1,111 yards through the air this season. Total, they give up an average of 353 total yards per game, which is 131 rushing, 222 through the air. If you know anything about our offense, you can double the rushing yards, and that's what we should be able to get if the offense is clicking. In the passing, I mean, Miller Moss is still Miller Moss. So, neither of those numbers should be hard for us to top on Saturday. Again, Virginia secondary is not awful, but it's not the best. And the one thing that Miller Moss has been able, one of the things, not the one thing that he's been able to do, is take advantage of busted coverages and stuff like that. So I feel pretty good. I mean, they've only forced 7 turnovers this year. They only have 11 sacks. They are giving up 87% scoring in the red zone. They give up 16 touch. They've given up 16 touchdowns this season, which is 3 per game, pretty much. They do have a nice little stable of tacklers with Devin Neal, James Jackson, and Landon Daniel. But there's nothing that really, like last week we did have in Pittsburgh. We had, I think, was it C.J. Briles, the guy that got, when we previewed them last week on the show Friday night, I said, you've got to watch out for this dude. He's the one to watch. He's going to be the difference maker for Pittsburgh on defense Saturday. He got the pick 6. He was leading tackle for loss guy. He did it all. I don't see anybody that and that's no disrespect to Virginia. I just don't see anybody that jumps off the page defensively for them, for me anyway.
Yeah, they've not been especially good defensively. Again, I don't know how much weight you put into the William and Mary game and things like that, but really let NC State kind of take them to the woodshed offensively in that game. And then, Florida State as well. When they've played, power 4 type opponents, they've not been very good on that side of the ball.
They gave up 16 to William and Mary. I mean,
yeah.
Are we not at least going to say, okay, well, Power 5 team should put double of William and Mary. So as long as we're in the 32 to 38 point range, I feel pretty good.
Yeah. What, give me an X factor in this game, and then we'll have you predict it.
You're going to make me predict it this early in the week? That is
yeah, man.
Fair.
Throw your feet in the fire in this thing.
I'll go get a pedicure first. I don't want no crusty feet in the fire. The X factor, defensively, I'm going to cop out a little bit. I'm going to say TJ Quinn, because he was the guy, the over the shoulder interception, the one-handed pick that turned this game around for us. He's been like this all year. He's been the X factor. He's dropped a couple of interceptions. He dropped one against Pitt and dropped one the game before, I'm pretty sure. But the fact that he's always in a spot to make a play, I think that makes him the defensive X factor. Offensively, I don't think it's a secret. As long as our offense is healthy, because we had we had Chris Bell, the wide receiver, our leading wide receiver, Isaac Brown, Duke Watson. That's why it's hard for me to make a prediction, because I don't know if they're going to be healthy or if they're going to be at 50% like they were against Pittsburgh. The running backs were 50% against Pittsburgh, whatever you want to call it, Saturday. So I'll have to go with Colin Lacey, because he's the one that's been healthy. He's been picking up the slack for everybody. I know that people will look at the stat line from Saturday. I had a guy ask me, well, who's the most valuable receiver Saturday? And I was like, Colin Lacey. Oh, you must be crazy. Chris Bell had 10 catches for 120-something yards and a touchdown. So yeah, but how many of those yards did he get because Lacey is a third down converting machine, or a second. Whenever we are in the need for a big conversion or big play, Lacey was the person that did that. He's returned punts for touchdowns this year. He's ran the ball for us in this last game. He's caught the ball. I want to see him throw one too, maybe, and get in the mix there. But he'll be the X factor for us offensively. And if he's shut down, and the guys are still injured a little bit, we may have some trouble. But I don't anticipate that being the case. Bell looked like he Bell was still banged up going into the game. He was questionable. Looked pretty good on Saturday. Brown and Watson didn't end up playing that much. If they get to play, they're no, and this will be 3 weeks since they've been injured, so they should be. If they ain't good now, then I don't. Well, we got another bye. I hate the double bye weeks in the first month of the season.
Terrible.
It absolutely drives me nuts. But could you have a better second bye week? I complained about it the first 3 weeks of the season, but now that we're banged up and we got Miami in 2 weeks, maybe it ain't such a bad thing to have an extra week of rest going down to Coral Gables or wherever it is they play in that stupid fish stadium.
They win this, they're 5-0. You think they can pull it off at home?
I do. I really do. And that, I know that sounded like a little bit of hesitation. I think they pull it off. I want to be confident that our offense is healthy. And again, Moss is getting better every game. So if his progression continues, that takes a little bit of pressure off the running game. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to predict this as if we are still a little banged up, right? So even though Virginia's averaging 42 points per game, we're only giving up like 17, 19. I'm going to say Virginia 21, Louisville 27.
Should be fun. Where can people follow you? Where can they find your content and all your work?
They can find the content at cardinalsportszone.com. And every Friday night at 10:05, we go live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. It's for the Cardinal Sports Zone podcast. We do previews on Friday night live, and then on Sundays at 2 p.m., same place you found us on Friday. We do the recaps and whatever else has been going on that's probably crazy in the world of Louisville athletics. We talk about that on Sundays.
Awesome. Jeremy, I appreciate you a ton for hanging out, man.
As always, man, you know, anytime you need me, I'm here for you, brother.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Yep.